The EMU campus policy states, persons who use, obtain for others to use, or distribute alcohol, tobacco, or illegal drugs on campus will be held responsible in accordance with the university policy.
Rates of binge drinking tend to be higher for student athletes, and athletes participating in team sports tend to binge drink more than athletes in individual sports. While athletes are training, they are more likely to abstain from drinking when they're not competing. Alcohol has mental and physical impact on athletic performance. It impairs decision-making, can contribute to a lower GPA, and cognitive impairment can last up to 48 hours after heavy drinking. It also can increase fatigue, impair muscle development and recovery, and cause dehydration, which increases the risk for cramping.
Alcohol, why must you be so cruel? You make me stumble around, scream out loud for no reason, pee 10 times an hour, and perform dares that I wouldn't even dare to think about when I'm sober. But at least you don't take away my gains. Or do you? How does alcohol affect your fitness gains? Dehydration. Since alcohol is a diuretic, the more you drink, the more you urinate, the more you're dehydrated. In worst case scenarios, excessive drinking can lead to severe dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. Pair this with increased levels of a toxin known as acetaldehyde from drinking, you're ripe with a recipe for a hangover. Not so fun fact, acetaldehyde is also classified as a group 1 carcinogen, the same group as tobacco, asbestos, and processed meat. Dehydration and a hangover, you'll feel increases in fatigue, sluggishness, confusion, and your chances of going to the gym plummets to a near zero. And if it needs to be spelled out, no gym equals no gains. In fact, your gains might already be affected even if you don't exercise. Studies show that low alcohol consumption, about 40 grams or so, or one drink, has really no effect on the muscle growth promoting hormone, testosterone. However, that starts changing as you continue to drink more. 10 to 16 hours after consuming 3 drinks, shown to reduce testosterone levels in your body by 23%. This drop does not come back to normal levels until 36 hours later. That's a whole 1.5 day you're spending with subpar muscle protein synthesis, and the studies also show that the worse your hangovers feel, the lower your testosterone drops. Even worse, alcohol has been connected to decreasing leucine oxidation, which is also important to building muscle. Most of all, alcohol lowers your quality of sleep. After a night of drinking, studies show that when you go to bed, you do in fact fall asleep quicker and into deeper sleep, but is quickly disrupted, and REM sleep, the deepest of all sleep stages, is overall reduced. When you're asleep, much of the mechanisms for muscle synthesis and recovery takes place. Disrupt that and you disrupt your muscle growth. So if you have a fitness goal that you're desperately trying to reach, alcohol consumption is perhaps one of your worst enemies.
Let's review how alcohol affects athletic performance. Alcohol slows our reaction time. Even small amounts of alcohol can result in slowed reaction time and decreased hand-eye coordination. Not only can this impair performance, but a slowed reaction time can increase your risk of injury. Alcohol dehydrates your body. If you want to optimize your athletic performance, then you want your recovery from sore muscles to be as fast as possible. Alcohol has been shown to slow this process because it is a powerful diuretic, which can cause dehydration and electrolyte imbalances. When dehydrated, an athlete is at a greater risk of cramps, muscle pulls, and muscle strains. Alcohol impairs muscle growth. Even paired with a healthy diet, alcohol does impair muscle protein synthesis. Because alcohol consumption could even be greater among athletes, there is typically a greater decrease in muscle protein synthesis, which deters our ability to build muscles. Alcohol impairs our muscle recovery. Drinking alcohol negatively affects your sleep patterns. Your body is robbed of a chemical called human growth hormone. Human growth hormone plays an integral role in building and repairing muscles. Alcohol depletes energy. After alcohol is absorbed through your digestive tract and moves into your cells, it can disrupt the water balance in your body. An imbalance of water in your muscle cells can hamper their ability to produce adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. This is the essential fuel for all cells, including those in our muscles. A reduction in your body's ATP can result in a lack of energy and loss of endurance.
Let's talk about the impacts of tobacco use. Cigarette use harms the heart and lungs. Because the impact is immediate, It directly affects athletic performance for both endurance and non-endurance athletes. When lung function is impaired, the muscles and brain do not receive enough oxygen to function at their best. When the body does not receive enough oxygen, the heart is overworked trying to compensate. As a result, the resting heart rate of a smoker is on average much higher than that of a non-smoker. A higher heart rate can make any athletic activity dangerous. Constricted blood flow weakens bone and connective tissue, making smokers much more susceptible to injury. This same effect reduces the body's ability to heal itself, so that smokers take longer to recover from injuries, workouts, or competition. Nicotine from cigarettes also suppresses appetite and can subsequently reduce an athlete's ability to build muscle and maintain a healthy body weight. Smokeless tobacco can impact athletic performance because it has the most nicotine of all tobacco products. Athletes more often use smokeless tobacco instead of cigarettes. In fact, use among athletes is as high or higher than use in the general population. Smokeless tobacco bypasses the lungs, but it is still detrimental to athletic performance. Because the level of nicotine in smokeless tobacco products is often greater than in conventional cigarettes, the detrimental effects of nicotine are amplified. Electronic smoking devices, or e-cigarettes, are also considered a tobacco product and are just as harmful to performance as conventional cigarettes or smokeless tobacco products. Most liquids used in e-cigarette cartridges contain nicotine, so e-cigarettes can cause all of the same detrimental effects of nicotine in other tobacco products. The aerosol from e-cigarettes is still being researched, but early studies have found dangerous chemicals like formaldehyde. The NCAA bans tobacco and marijuana use. The World Anti-Doping Agency currently bans marijuana use and has nicotine on its watch list. Nicotine will most likely be banned in the future, with many professional leagues following suit.
This video explains information on NCAA's drug testing policies. The NCAA has a list of banned substances. If you are tested and are found to be using one of these compounds, it may affect your eligibility. You can lose additional eligibility or even become permanently ineligible if you test positive more than once. You might also have consequences with the NCAA if you are suspended by a different sports organization. It isn't just steroids and street drugs like heroin or marijuana that are on the list, so watch out. For example, some energy drinks may make you test positive for stimulants and elevated levels of caffeine. To make sure you stay out of trouble, ask before you act. Talk to your athletic training staff before you take anything, even supplements, over-the-counter stuff, and potentially even prescriptions, just to be safe. The list of banned substances can change, so be sure to review it each academic year and always seek help from your athletic training staff. Take a few minutes now and review this information in the summary of regulations.
Noggin. Would you take performance-enhancing drugs that could help you become an Olympic champion? What if that drug had some serious negative side effects? These drugs are banned in sports, but that doesn't stop some athletes from taking them. So what do? And how do they work? Let's start off with the most famous of these drugs, anabolic steroids. When these are taken, the body breaks them down into smaller molecules that can enter cells and bind to a structure called an androgen receptor. Normally, testosterone binds to this, but anabolic steroids can too. And from here, the real magic begins. See, once the androgen receptor is activated, your body starts to produce more proteins during the process of anabolism. The cells in your skeletal muscles start to replicate, and this means that your muscles will start to grow and you'll become stronger. In fact, in men, exercise and steroids could lead to a 38% increase in strength, and potentially even more for women. And not only that, but anabolic steroids can also help athletes train harder and recover faster by shortening catabolism, the process in which proteins are broken down into amino acids. But of course, not all the effects of anabolic steroids are positive. It can cause acne, high blood pressure, and male pattern baldness in both men and women. They can cause men's testicles to shrink and decrease sperm count, and increase your risk for prostate cancer. And women using these steroids can develop facial hair, a deepened voice, and their periods may change or even completely stop. So seriously, don't use these. But what if an athlete isn't really concerned with muscle strength, but rather wants to improve their endurance? This is where blood doping comes in handy. But again, this is a bad move. So bad, in fact, that Lance Armstrong was stripped of all 7 of his Tour de France victories and was banned from the sport for life. The goal of blood doping is to increase the amount of oxygen-carrying red blood cells in the blood, and this is usually done with either blood transfusions, using your own blood, or by injecting yourself with erythropoietin, a molecule that stimulates the production of more red blood cells. And the basic idea is that the more oxygen that can get to your body's muscles, the more endurance you will have. So does it work? Well, in one study, blood doping increased an athlete's endurance by 34%, and in another, an athlete was able to run 8 kilometers on a treadmill 44 seconds faster than before. That might not sound like a lot, but when these athletes are competing with the best of the best, every second counts. Now, these are just the tip of the iceberg. Other performance-enhancing drugs include human growth hormone, which helps increase athletes' sprinting capacity by up to 4% and increases muscle growth as well. But trust me when I say that if you are an athlete, it's probably better to just train the old-fashioned way, with a lot of hard work and sweat. Work it, baby. Excluding any of the negative health effects, using these drugs means that you're cheating. And in the professional world, that definitely shouldn't be taken lightly.
Bullying and hazing is a nationwide issue that affects the lives of young athletes. It will even follow them into their college careers.
There's a culture in athletics that needs to be changed. Whether you call it bullying, whether you call it hazing, whether you call it rite of passage, rituals, whatever terms you want to use, it's got to change.
There are stories every day about students from middle school right on up through college and into the pro ranks now that people have been bullied or hazed. As much as Division III mirrors the country, I think it's definitely an important issue right now.
The NCAA forbids the act of hazing in college sports. And colleges such as Montclair State list expulsion as a consequence for engaging in hazing. So why is hazing such a big issue in athletics?
I think it's the same theory for sororities and fraternities. You're trying to build a close-knit group of people, and the thought process is if you go through something that's really difficult together and you come out on the other side, it brings you closer. And I think that's true if it's a genuine, difficult situation, but these sort of manufactured hazing rituals, I don't think do anything positive for the person being hazed nor for the people doing the hazing.
I do not think bullying or hazing is a big issue. The older guys want to bring in the freshmen onto the team and just get them a part of it. Not anything serious, nothing hurtful.
You want to fit in, you might be away from home. How do you say no? That's the scary part, that people are putting themselves in harm's way to try to feel like they're going to fit in.
We used to have something called a rookie show. We haven't done that in 30 years because it gets out of hand sometimes. It could put guys on edge with other players, asking them to do something that maybe they feel uncomfortable about and don't want to do. I think it's a whole situation that needs to be eliminated.
I think it would cross the line if kids were starting to get hurt, maybe physically and emotionally, just to tell a freshman to do this or that, just for the funny of it, but nothing harmful, I don't think.
I'd like to see it just stop. Nothing. Pick up my pad, rookie. No, nothing.
I don't think that hazing in sports will ever end. Never. Because everybody wants to be a part of the team, and the freshmen are going to do what the older guys ask, and the older guys are just going to want to have some fun to build some team chemistry.
It's something that's still ingrained in people, and people like to tell stories about how they survived their initiation rite. And I think as long as they have that behind them, I think that there will still be people that want to do it.
had one of our pledge members go down as a dog and drink a bowl of beer while everyone barked at her.
Then we were brought to this waterfall and they were screaming at us, take your pants off, like take your belts off.
It's to the point where many of those behaviors are so normalized in the environment of schools and colleges and universities, and they're often referred to as, oh, those aren't hazing, those are just traditions.
There were several that were heavily intoxicated. 2 of them went to the hospital with alcohol poisoning. 1 of them died. That's when tradition isn't there.
It's not unique to Greek life. It happens on sports teams, it happens in high schools, it happens in the military.
It's important to know that you can make a difference.
We just treat each other as equals. When it comes down to it, I think that it's on us to make a difference in the generation that we are and to not think that hazing is a good tradition to keep going.
As a college athlete, it is important to have an understanding of how alcohol, drugs, and hazing can affect your athletic experience. If you recognize a concern or need help addressing an issue, reach out to your coaching staff or an athletics administrator for more resources. At EMU, we are proud that our athletes have a great track record and we rarely have to address these types of situations.